Pretty. I like it. Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Sabrina Victoria. Thank you so much for being here. This is Her Talk Show. We are going to be talking all about cultivating a traveler's mindset to succeed in life. Super, super excited for this subject. So get comfortable. We are going to be going over some triumphs, some challenges faced by women worldwide. We're going to be offering insights, inspiration to fuel not only your personal, but also your professional growth. Let's jump in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Hello, if you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We're here every day delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 600 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Kelly Tolliday. She is a wellness travel expert, retreat facilitator, travel advisor, and podcast host. She has lived in Australia, Europe, Central America, Southeast Asia, and now back in her hometown in Florida. Whoop, whoop. That's where I'm from. She is the co-founder of R&R, a boutique retreat and travel company offering world-class travel experiences around the world. She's passionate about travel, nature, holistic wellness, and community building. Yes, she believes when these are combined, magic can happen. Girl, I'm with you on that one.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
I think we're in the era right now of community. I think more and more people are really starting to realize that we are a culture, a species that needs each other.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that has a lot to do. It's probably a lot with retreats, right?
Well, that's kind of the whole point. Of course, going to the destination that you're excited to go to, of course, learning from world-class teachers and really getting to dive deep into your personal development. But a lot of it is getting to make lifelong friends with people that maybe you might have passed on by if you're walking down the sidewalk, and really getting to connect, not just with the community and the group that's on the retreat, but also getting a really nice in-depth connection with one of our local guides or some of our location experts. So yeah, the community aspect is huge. And I don't think people understand that until afterwards, that they realize that's how big it was.
Absolutely. I agree. So when you're talking about succeeding in life as a whole, why do you believe that travel is such a big aspect of that?
Yeah. And so I think to start, when we talk about travel, it doesn't have to be, a huge far-flung international destination. I think of traveling just as stepping outside of your comfort zone. And for some people, that's just crossing over a city boundary, that's going to a new cafe, that's going across the state line, or sometimes that is hopping across and going transatlantic over to a new continent. But for me, in my own personal journey and the journeys of clients that I've had now for almost 8 years, travel really offers you this special container of kind of setting the things that weigh you down at home, kind of like your routines and the daily obligations that you might have from family or from your boss or from whatever it might look like. Travel offers you this opportunity to really step into this version of yourself that might be masked with some of the to-do lists that you have at home. I often say that you can step into really this, on retreat, we call it your retreat self and your home self. And it's like, how can we marry these two together? And when you're on retreat or you're on a trip, you allow yourself to maybe take a couple different risks that you might not do at home because you don't have the space or the time to allow for some mishaps to happen or get into a little bit of adventure. You might not stop and talk to the barista who's made your coffee and really get to have that slow, meaningful conversation with a stranger. And when we're at home, we're just like, all right, grab and go. Like, what do you mean I have to get out of my car to get my coffee? I can't just drive through. So travel really offers you this opportunity to slow down, to take some calculated risks, to step into this version of yourself that says yes to an adventure or doesn't know how the day is going to unfold. And you get to see how you react to stress in that way. And when you're traveling with R&R in a very supported and safe container.
Makes sense. Definitely. When we're talking personal growth, I think a lot of times individuals, when they think of retreats, they think of that like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to grow on a personal level. When you think about your own experiences, like you yourself, we'd love to hear a story. What are some things that you have learned? What are some developments that you've had personally by traveling or going on retreats?
Yeah, I mean, man, that's like my whole life is just story upon story of how it's helped me grow. And truly, it's like a mirror. They often say, when you have children, it's like a mirror into all the like parts of yourself that you're trying to hide. And I think travel's like that too, because it is so, you can't go on autopilot when you're traveling. You have to be present with what's happening. Like, what train am I going to get on? And, are my bags going to show up? And, oh, there's a language barrier. How do I even order my coffee? And so for me, it's been a lifelong journey of patience and surrender and letting things unfold as they can. As you can imagine, as a travel advisor, as a group travel facilitator, I like to have control and I like to be organized and I like my Excel sheets and I love a good timeline and itinerary. And travel really forces you to have a loose plan, but also leave a lot of room for spontaneity and a lot of room for, oh, okay, plan A didn't work. Plan B is going to be just as beautiful, and really trusting in that. That's been kind of my lifelong lesson as a recovering overachiever and a self-proclaimed type A lunatic. Like just learning how to kind of go with the flow a bit more. Travel has really been a profound part of that journey for me. And we do find a lot of our clients who either work with us on one-to-one travel itineraries or coming on retreats with us, we do find that it is oftentimes the woman who has to have her stuff together at all times. Like there are people whose lives depend on her showing up in the household, showing up at work, showing up in a partnership, and they come on retreat and they're like, whoa, I don't have to figure out how to get from this beach to that beach. I don't, what time do I show up for dinner? I don't have to worry about making the reservation. Like there's just this total exhale that gets to happen when you allow somebody else to kind of plan that for yourself.
Mm,
And also just being like, oh, okay, I don't have to have an answer for what I'm going to do at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. I can just kind of see how it's going to unfold. So for me personally, that's been a huge lesson, especially just with plane delays and plans getting completely derailed. I've been in I was in a 7.0 earthquake in Indonesia, and we were supposed to live on this little island for about 6 months. And within 3 weeks, we had to get evacuated after this earthquake. And our whole plan for the whole year of travel we were supposed to have got completely derailed. And that was a massive point of really getting deep into why I felt like it was such a failure to have to leave. Obviously, there was an earthquake, I had to leave. But there was these lingering effects of just like this failure that my plan did not go to plan. And so, stories like that, I could go on. And it's just learning how to let go with the flow, surrender to what's happening. And oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, it unfolds in a way bigger and better plan than I could imagine.
yeah, I can totally relate to so much of that. Definitely a planner. Definitely very meticulous with time management. And that is something probably over the last 5 years that I've really been stepping into, not necessarily through travel, but just relinquishing control over let's just say the weekend, a Saturday. Because I used to be one of those people that even my weekends were, and really learning to kind of let go of that. When you're
Yeah.
talking about this, like, opening yourself up, getting away, not having the daily obligations. I know you talk a lot about kind of tapping into your higher self, or the potential, I guess, of maybe your higher
Hmm.
self. How is that? Why is that beneficial? Like, why does that even matter?
Why does it matter to tap into this greater potential
Yeah,
that you
like,
have? Is that the question?
why not just stay how we are? Like, what's the big deal with being so diligent and so, calculated with how we run our days. Why is it important to let go and to
Yeah.
kind of allow ourselves to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with staying as you are. But if there's a point, if there's a little point or a little piece of you or a little voice or a little whisper, like there's got to be something more. Like I feel like I'm exhausted by just maintaining this life or maintaining this rigid schedule, or keep feeling like I'm trying to knock down the doors instead of them just opening for me. Or if you look at another person in a similar industry or similar life circumstance, but it just seems like all these doors are opening for them and it's not happening for you, or you just are constantly in that grudge, like there might just be a point in which you're trying or forcing or efforting too much. Like they're in yoga, they're the two cornerstones of yoga. I'm going to get the Sanskrit parts wrong because I always do. But the two cornerstones of yoga are never give up and keep letting go. So, of course, success in life, whatever that's defined by you as, it doesn't have to be monetary or professional success. But of course, it takes effort. There is a discipline that is required to attain the life of your dreams. But at the same time, and at the same equal amounts, there is an aspect of it that you have to let go. You have to let go of the greater plan. And oftentimes when we're not forced to have to let go, as you are when you're traveling, we just continue on with, well, I know the right way and I'm A plus B plus C equals D. I know the step-by-step plan. Well, it might feel like you're trying to knock down the door instead of it just opening it up for you. And I think we can all relate to what it feels like when something happened. Oh, the house that we bought literally just fell into our lap. I have no idea. Like the doors, it was opened and it was easy. Or this job offer came in right at the same time that I was letting go of this really toxic relationship at work and whatever. Like we all know what that feeling when something just kind of opens up for us. And we also know the feeling of what it's like when we're just hitting the grind every day. And it just feels like I said, it's more of a knockdown rather than an open. And travel, like I said, is this really special container where you can just see where the day takes you and you can see how it feels in your nervous system to let go of that control. Because most of it for us is this really tense nervous system wind up that if we're not in control, it's, stuff's going to hit the fan. If we don't have every single thing lined up, then the whole world's going to fall apart. And it might feel like that at home because we've kind of made it that way for ourselves, or there's some sort of experience from childhood or past relationship where it's been wired into our nervous system, whereas travel really helps us unravel some of that wound up tension of having to be in control at all times. And I say this from personal experience because I'm still personally working through it. And that's why travel has been, in our business, we always say travel is the ultimate form of personal development and growth, because you can really look at it from so many different layers and levels of your life and apply it to different layers and levels of your life.
It is so interesting. I've never even really thought of that. But when you really sit back, I'm grasping that because there is so much uncertainty. Um, yeah, you don't really have control. Even just simple things like flights being delayed
Mm-hmm.
can mess up everything.
Yeah.
Um,
It really can, yeah. And I mean, so last year we flew from Florida to Greece, and we were hosting a retreat in Greece. But me and my whole family, my little girls, I have a 3 and a 1-year-old, my parents, my sister, everyone, we're all meeting in Greece for 3 weeks before the retreat started. Our flight path was Miami to London, London to Athens. But there was this huge delay in Miami, of course, always. And we ended up missing our connection from London to Athens. We got on this basically like this wild goose chase of trying to find a flight to get us there. And instead of getting to Mykonos that same day, we ended up having to stay the night in Athens. And at first, we're exhausted. We're really angry about the situation. We're really frustrated. But then we get the girls to sleep. Me and my husband are in our hotel room in Athens, and we're like, you know what? I think trying to push it to Mykonos in the same day was a little bit too much. And now everyone gets to sleep and we get to wake up and arrive in Mykonos and have like a little bit of rest and feel a little more grounded. And it's like being able to take those shifts, like, yeah, of course you're frustrated, you're angry, you're tired, let that happen. But
mm,
then flexing that travel muscle over time lets you apply that traveler's mindset of, okay, this must be for the greater good in some capacity. And being able to look for that greater good allows you to just kind of like let it go and move on. And I think that's something that we can all apply in business and life and relationships. Like, it's just such an important piece to be able to say, okay, this is frustrating, this happened, like, and how can we move on from here in a constructive way and move on.
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. I love that mindset change as far as you being well rested when you it just goes to show how literally anything can be shifted if you think long
Exactly.
enough about it. That's gorgeous.
Exactly.
That's gorgeous. Culture. I think culture is something I would love to kind of touch on. Because that again, right? Such a mind-opening way of seeing how different cultures, different people live in comparison to the way we live. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. This piece is super important to us as a brand, as a group travel and retreats company. It A lot of times you can go on retreats and you can get your twice daily yoga and your green juice and not have a single local interaction at all, which has its purpose. Like it definitely does. But for us, the culture piece is probably one of the most important pillars in our business. We always say travel with intention and let the world show you a new perspective.
Mm,
And oftentimes, some of the greatest points of personal transformation through travel or going on a group retreat is by observing the culture and interacting with the culture that you're with. So, for example, for our Greece retreat in 2023, the retreat I was just talking about that took us like 72 hours to get to Athens and Mykonos, we had some incredible expert workshops, some life-changing sound healing sessions, some amazing excursions. But the biggest thing that our guests took away from that was the slow pace of life on this Greek island and how jarring it was for their nervous systems, this American fast-paced frenzies, get it done yesterday pace of life, to then be thrust into this really slow, remote, like I'm talking 800 residents year round on this island. It is not a busy Santorini. Our island is very local and remote. And well, actually not remote because it only takes 2 hours from Athens, but not a lot of people go there, which is shocking to me. So, but anyways, that was the biggest thing that people took away from it was, oh my God, I need to slow the heck down. I am just like this. People, our guests, including myself, were getting annoyed that our check at the restaurant didn't come fast enough because we were ready to go on to the next thing, right? Whereas the Greek waiters were looking around at us like, you just finished eating, just enjoy yourself, just have a chat. Like, what's the rush? I think the one waiter literally told us like, what's the rush? And we couldn't have an answer to it because we were supposed to be there relaxing. And so picking up on some of the core components of the culture that you visit can be a transformation for you in and of itself. In our Costa Rica retreat, also in 2023, many of our guests that just inherently picked up the pura vida. That's their country's slogan, pura vida, pure life, just everything. You have everything you need, this natural vibrancy, this thriving culture that they place so much emphasis on their natural life in Costa Rica. That wasn't part of the retreat theme. They weren't, quizzed on pura vida culture in their, daily group discussions that we have. It was just something that came up amongst our guests was, wow, I'm really feeling such a connection to nature. I'm really feeling that I don't need to have more and more and more. I can just have a simple, very simple life and it'd be okay. Like I'm getting goosebumps. Like those are the points in which culture can really impact someone on a one-to-one level, but then they bring that back home to their communities, back home to their families. And then it has a ripple effect across a culture in which we don't necessarily tend to overemphasize the importance of nature, at least in the community that I live in. So there's just so much value in opening yourself up into new ways of being, into new religions. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to kneel down before a different religion or a different God, whatever you want to say. But like just learning why? Like, where does this come from? What's the history? What's the overall theme? Like, there's just so much that you can learn by just having an open mind and an open heart.
Mm, yeah, definitely. I've actually never traveled.
Really? Well, you can come with us. You have a spot.
Yeah, I've never been outside the country. This is all very interesting to me. I don't want to say stuff that I've never thought about, but stuff that um I don't think about a lot. So it's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice just kind of thinking about all of this. We have a ton of people watching live. I'd love to kind of touch on something that you mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
which I know is a lot of times used as an excuse. So for those watching live, I'd love to kind of touch on this. But what about the kids? A lot of times we don't travel because we have children, and especially young children, as you mentioned, 1 and
Yes.
3. Tips,
Oh my
thoughts
gosh. Oh my gosh.
of of doing this?
I so this is something that I feel really, really passionate about. I have a podcast called Transform with Travel. There are so many episodes in there where I go over strategies and tips and products and the realities of traveling with children. I have experts that come on to talk about like what's happening psychologically for them, like how we can help them adjust to time zones. And there's a sleep expert, all the things. This is something I love so much. I like I said, it doesn't have to be international travel. You can just go from one state to the next, from even different states have different cultures, as we definitely are very aware of right now. Um, but I think it's one of the most important things that you can do for children is exposing them to different cultures. Like I said, whether it's Florida versus California, or it's going to Europe, or it's going to a Caribbean island, or going to the Bahamas. Like, I know there's obviously financial restraints and doing big trips. But for me personally, I have seen such a shift just in my 3-year-old. Like, but before we left, we did a 5-week trip through Southeast Asia this past winter. And before we left, I'd be like, hey, do you want to go to tennis? Do you want to go to swimming? Do you want to go even just get ice cream after school? No, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I'm like, okay. After our trip, she comes home every day after school. What are we doing next? Where are we going? What can we go do? And it's not to say that, it's not important to be a homebody and enjoy yourself at home too, but there's just such an openness to wanting to go out and explore and experience the world. I think it shows, especially being exposed to different cultures and different types of people, the way in which the global economy is trending and is currently in right now. More and more employers, more and more universities are expecting a global mindset. Whether you've been across to a different country or not, they are expecting a global mindset, which means having tolerance for other cultures, because we are all working remotely, and we aren't all working remotely, but companies are expecting now you to have some reference of how to work and engage with different cultures and different types of people. The type of tolerance and compassion and just a worldly mindset to be able to conduct yourself in a global market, which almost virtually every industry is trending towards at this stage. Being able to differentiate yourself as someone who can really appreciate and be able to work, as I said, with different cultures. So it is not easy traveling with young children. I will be the first person to say that there has been many trips where my husband and I look at each other like, was this a massive mistake? What did we just do? But most times we'll end the day, even if it's been difficult, even if it's been hard, we end the day and look at each other and we'll go through pictures and photos from the day and be like, oh my God, did you see that smile? Did you see her do this? She climbed that tree. I didn't think she'd be able to do this. So the biggest the biggest tip I can give, especially as a parent, is that it really truly starts with you. Your child, especially if they're, I guess, pretty much every age, they're going to have a tantrum. It's just going to look differently. You are the leader of the family when you're traveling. So when you're in an airport or you're in an airplane or you're out and one of your children is looking like there's probably going to start to melt down, because inevitably they will, it's developmentally appropriate for them to do that. You have to notice what's happening within yourself first, because chaos breeds chaos. And if you can try to remain the calm, confident leader of your little traveling tribe, then it helps so much in being able to mitigate what's happening with them. I'm not saying it's going to stop the tantrum at all, but at least you're coming at it with a different perspective so that it's not both of you having a tantrum in an airplane. And I'm saying that with love, because I've definitely been there, like crying while my baby's crying. But with that said, I think the benefits of taking your children with you along your travels to the best that you can, again, that could be from one city to the next. It just, the cognitive benefits that children receive from just having this like flexibility as well, and adaptability and ability to pivot, which I think is one of the benefits of travel as adults as well. The ability to let things go and learning that at a young age, I think is just so powerful. I think it's one of the greatest gifts that you can give your children is those qualities that you can instill when you are on the road with different people and different cultures and different lands too, different natural landscapes as well.
Did you and your spouse or you, how long has the traveling been a thing?
So I've been very lucky in the sense that I did grow up with a family that really valued travel. We didn't do much international travel when I was young, but we went camping. We would go skiing, a couple times throughout my childhood. My dad, one of his biggest clients was Royal Caribbean. So we did do a lot of cruises when I was young. So for me, it's kind of always been a thread within my life. I've always heard my parents talk about their travels in the 70s and the 80s. And it's kind of just always been a thing. Even my grandma in the 80s and 90s as a divorced woman was traveling with her sister around the world, different places. So for me, it's kind of always been a constant, and it's similar to my husband. My husband's actually Australian. We met when we were traveling in Ireland together in 2000, not together, but we were traveling separately through Ireland, but we met in 2013. And so our whole relationship has been a constant of travel. I ended up moving 6 months after meeting him. I moved from the United States to Australia, and we lived in Australia for 5 years. And then we traveled through Asia, lived in Thailand, and then we settled back here before having our first child. So it's one of those top core values for us as a couple and also as individuals. We both feel our best selves when we're traveling. Doesn't mean that we're always our best selves, but we feel as if we're the best versions of ourselves, which makes us better partners and better parents. So yeah, I mean, it has been a lifelong passion. And one of my biggest passions now is opening up the world to other travelers, to people who want to travel in a new way, who want to combine the best of all that travel has to offer, which for me personally includes a lot of personal development, local cultural immersion, a bit of adventure and fun and risk taking, as well as having that thread of wellness so that you don't feel depleted after you're done traveling. A lot of times we feel like we need a vacation from the vacation because there's so many logistics and there's so much overwhelm that can happen when you're planning your trip. So my goal, my mission is to inspire others to see the world in a really supported, nourished, fun, adventurous way, but with taking a lot of that overwhelm and anxiety, whether that's having a customized private itinerary or whether that's coming on a group tour or retreat with R&R.
Beautiful. When you first had your child, was there a conversation like, hey, we're going to keep traveling?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, with him being Australian, we kind of don't have a choice. So in order for us to see our family, and I lived with his family, I was, every Sunday we'd have dinner. So it's my family as well. And in order for us to see his family and my nieces, my nephews, my in-laws, we have to go to Australia. And so when she was 18 months old, Australia had just opened up after COVID. They were closed for almost 2 years. So they hadn't met my daughter. So that was not her first international trip, but it was our first really longer international trip. And yeah, it's definitely something that we take into consideration when we decided to have a second child. definitely something that we keep in consideration is what's the frequency, what's the quality of travel, what's the length of time that we can do. And as we continue to have conversations about perhaps a family growing or not, travel is actually one of the top things that we talk about, because we know that for us, and as like I said, as individuals, as a couple, and as a family, it's something that is incredibly important to our growth and our happiness.
Wow, that's great. I love that. Um, we have people watching live. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us. If you are watching us on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. Obviously, we have a really good idea of what you do. I'd love for you to talk a little bit as we're closing up here on who should be reaching out to you. Who are your retreats best for?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So our retreats are a really great combination, as I mentioned, of having that daily wellness. And for us, what daily wellness really means is really good, high quality, nourishing local foods. We both, when I say we, it's me and my business partner, Chloe Ravel. We are both senior registered yoga and meditation instructors. She is a senior sound healer. So those are kind of common threads that you'll see throughout the retreat. So if you're into yoga, meditation, or into learning about yoga and meditation, because we really keep things all levels. We do a lot of personal development work, but not where it's overbearing and you're spending all day in workshops. We usually just have a common theme and stuff that we work through and really allow the free time and the space to connect with the local culture to inform your growth and development as well. We include excursions that are very specific to that local economy. We only work with local guides. So we typically have like someone who is living there with their family, and they're the ones that are going to take us on that local coastline hike of Portugal. Like, we really are very intentional with who we work with. So if intentionality and really giving back to the local economy is important to you, that's something that we offer through our excursions, as well as sometimes there's adventure pieces. There's options to add on things like a zip line or a coastal hike, or ways to really amplify a little bit of that adventure piece. There's a way to do that as well too. So in terms of who, if someone's looking for this, one, if you are a solo traveler who wants to get out there and explore the world, but a little intimidated maybe to do that by yourself, or maybe you've solo traveled and you're like, I'm ready to meet some really cool people, we are the perfect place for you. We can place you with a roommate if you want a double room, or you can have a single room to yourself. But it's a great way to really feel like you still have that solo piece through the free time that you can choose to explore by yourself. And then also having the support of a community where so many of our guests have become best friends. Now they travel on their own together as friends. Like, they don't even need us anymore. Like, it's like the ideal scenario for me is watching people feeling the confidence to go out and do that on their own. So that's a perfect spot for you. If you are, a lot of times are women who their partner or their husband or whatever that might look like, they don't really want to travel, or they don't really value traveling. But we have women that are like, I want to see the world. I'm not waiting for you. So they love joining us as well, and being able to feel like they're traveling with some of their best friends, but without having to force their partner or their husband along with them. And again, people who are interested in the yoga and the wellness piece, people who are just interested in changing up the way that they normally travel, or perhaps there's a location or a destination, like we're going to Peru in April. That is a destination that is bucket list for so many people, but the overwhelm in trying to plan the permits, the excursions, which restaurant do we go eat at and not get sick? Which hotels do we go to? Like, super overwhelming for a lot of people, even myself. So like if I was going alone. So we go to destinations where we take a lot of that overwhelm away from you. So even the most seasoned travelers love coming and traveling with us, because like I said, they just get to switch off that part in the brain where maybe they're the family traveler, like itinerary planner for their whole extended family. Like me, I do that all the time. And they're like, whoa, it feels so nice just to shut my brain off and not worry about scouring TripAdvisor for the best excursion or the best restaurant. Like, we really say this is like travel reimagined. It's a way to really explore and combine all the best parts of travel without having to have that overwhelm and anxiety. So if you're interested in joining a group tour or a retreat with us, You can head to our website, travelwithrnr.com. It has all of our upcoming trips, as well as if you're looking for a private, like if you want us to curate a private retreat for you, like you don't really feel like going with a whole group. You just, you want to go to a certain country and you want some help really mindfully curating your itinerary for you. We can also do that. We also work with corporate teams, building out day retreats or full weekend retreats. Another piece of the business, sorry to continue on and on, there are a lot of coaches, there are a lot of fitness instructors, there are a lot of influencers who have a really vibrant community of people, and they want to take their community somewhere
Yeah.
and explore or share their expertise, but they don't, one, they don't want anything to do with the logistics or planning, or two, it overwhelms them to start to plan a retreat, something they've never done before. So we have been working a lot with community leaders, with coaches, who know they want to run a retreat, or their people have been asking for a retreat, but they just don't know where to start. So they contract us to help manage the back end of it and let them do the thing that they're absolute geniuses at. And that's what we do. So we're really like overall your wellness, travel, and retreat experts. And we're here to support you wherever level of the journey you're at.
Beautiful. And then as far as people finding you, you mentioned travelwithrnr.com. Where do you guys hang out on social media if they want to follow you?
Yeah, me personally, you can find me at kelly.tolliday on Instagram, or also on Facebook or LinkedIn. Kelly Tolliday is the best way to search me. Fun fact, my sister-in-law is also Kelly Tolliday. So both of my husband and his brother both married Kellys. But yeah, you'll definitely be able to spot me on Instagram and Facebook if you're looking for me, and LinkedIn. I hang out on LinkedIn all the time. And then our business, we're in the process of migrating the Instagram handle, but at the moment it's at Rising Nature Retreats. Or eventually, hopefully in the next week or two, it'll be at Travel with R&R. So check us out on there. You can see all of our stuff. My podcast is Transform with Travel. It's an offshoot of our travel business. And if you're, like you mentioned, there was a lot of people, I guess, online asking about family travel. You'll find so many resources on there. It's one of the best places to find some of our best tips and support.
Beautiful. Gorgeous. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been eye-opening in more ways than one. So super, super cool. Closing thoughts as we wrap up.
Oh man, if you've been thinking about that trip or that adventure that you'd want to go on, just seek out expanders in the space for yourself. I don't want to say just do it, because I think that's really unhelpful. I think if there's anything holding you back from going out and just living your absolute biggest dreams out in the world, it can feel overwhelming sometimes. And I just recommend finding people online or in your personal community that have done a trip that's similar or had an adventure that's similar. And when I mean adventure, I mean everything, like whether that's starting a new business or starting a new relationship or moving cross country or moving out of country, which seems to be one of the top most Googled things right now. But seek out the expanders in your space. Perhaps that's people online, or maybe that's people that have the professional credentials to be able to help you with it, whether that's a travel advisor or a professional group tour company. Whatever it is you want to do in your life, seek out the people that are actually living that, steps, take a walk in their shoes, rather than trying to ask people for advice that have never done what you want to do. And yeah, just the support is there for you. And I'm really excited to be able to share this with your community.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. For those of you listening live or on the replay, if you are resonating with everything that Kelly is speaking about today, make sure you check her out at travelwithrnr.com. She predominantly hangs out on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Be mindful that there are two Kelly Tolliday, so make sure that you're following the right one. To our dedicated listeners here that have made it all the way into the very end, thank you. Make sure you follow, like, and share. And once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here and inspiring us all in the world of travel. This has been great. I run a community called Her Nation, where we continue to have conversations just like this one in order to help uplift you every step in the way. I encourage you to join us. The links are in the description.